Khawateen o Hazrat, Assalamu alaikum. Today in Ambassador Lounge, we will be talking on a different topic which we normally do, and this is regarding the story of the tariffs which the new American President, Mr. Donald Trump, has started. To discuss this, I have with me Ambassador Amjad Ali Sher and Ambassador Ayaz Khan. The US has used tariffs since its founding in the 18th century. They were primarily a way to raise revenue in the nation's early days. Later, tariffs were largely used to restrict imports or as a bargaining chip to reduce trade barriers. President Donald Trump used the import duties has broken his historical norms, economists and historians are saying. President Donald Trump has imposed tariffs on China that has already taken effect since Tuesday, while his tariffs threats hang over other major trading partners, Canada, Mexico, and European Union. To discuss this, I'll be asking my colleagues on the subject that why was it necessary or were the USA was waiting for Donald Trump to come and start this tariff war. Amjad, please.
Yeah, thank you, Ambassador Tanveer Khaskhali. In fact, President Trump during his first tenure from 2017 to 2021 had already imposed tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada. But later those were removed by President Biden, and for some reason some were also suspended during President Trump's first tenure. And now it was his election campaign that he's promised to come and impose tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada, and also on the European Union. On Mexico and Canada, President Trump has got, it is being used as a tool, first to raise funds for, second to protect the American industry at home, and third is to also have a leverage over Canada and Mexico so that they can come to the terms of controlling the drug trafficking and illegal immigration. But from the southern border, the Mexican border, and northern border, the Canadian border. And on China, because China is blamed to be using these, the trade as to upset the Americans' manufacturing sector, because China has already been using the export of its goods, especially consumer goods, especially machinery, especially some electronic and automobiles and machinery, and selling it at a lower price, upsetting the American or the US, those US manufacturing industries. So Trump's sole purpose is to first protect the US manufacturing sector, and also bring in, and this is going to create more jobs for this thing, and at the same time it is also going to raise funds for for implementing some of its most desired objectives, that is to welfare and roads conditions in the United States of America is not so good, and they at the same time also to give some projects to the people because the jobs are not there nowadays. So all these things are put together. So that's why that is his sole purpose to impose tariffs on Chinese products imports and the Mexican and the Canadian imports.
Okay, thank you, Amjad. I asked, since we already know that, USA, Mexico, and Canada already have an arrangement of free trade agreement and all those, and keeping that in view, was it still necessary to topple that arrangement and come up with, since he has said so in his election campaign, was the reason, or he had some other thing in mind?
We have to see that during the campaign trail, President Trump had promised his nation, the Americans, that he was going to levy tariffs on a number of countries who were having trade advantage vis-a-vis United States. He thinks that the trade surplus that United States was facing amounted to $1.2 trillion, and it was quite substantial. He wanted to levy taxes or import duties on the goods that were being imported from those countries which were having advantages, vis-a-vis United States, particularly China, Mexico, and Canada. But we have to see that this is a double-edged sword, because once the logic goes like this, that once a country levies import duties on the goods, then the prices of those commodities, they certainly rise in the domestic market, because of which the consumers have to pay higher prices. And he had told his nation that the price will have to be paid by the Americans, but it would be worth it. Now we have to see how this comes about, how it turns out to be advantageous for the people in United States, because the prices are certainly going to rise, inflation is going to increase, and whether American people are going to swallow this bitter reality or not, we have to see.
At the same time, I may add also that in 2000, in his first term, when President Trump had imposed tariffs, raised tariffs on the Chinese imports in retaliation, China had banned the import of soya bean and pork and other agriculture products from the United States of America. And as a result, the farmers, the American farmers were facing a lot of losses. And the President Trump had to give $28 billion in aid to the farmers out of the federal budget.
Thank you. Now we see this in the whole scenario since as I mentioned in the beginning, that this tariff war, or the concept of tariffs, and we also see that there was a time that in the 1940s, US was the one which helped in the general trade and tariff trade agreement in the 1948s, and which was a precursor to the making of the WTO, which we talk of, so that there's fair trade between the nations of the world, all those things. But somehow or the other, right now what is happening with President Trump, issuing executive orders and all those kind of things against especially Canada, Mexico and China, and also threatening for European Union basically. If you see that European Union, in terms of the numbers, they don't import much, and rather they export much to USA. So that is also one of the reasons. And whatever thoughts or whatever President Trump is doing or conveying, is it his own personal thoughts, or he has already discussed with the people concerned, economist people, or dealing with economy and all those things? That thing has to be really seen. That right now, since this is just very early, only hardly a month has gone, has taken on all those. Uh, what do you think could have been one of the things, the statements, we want to do it for USA and all those. What could be the other reasons for, doing, Amjad?
Well, in the first place, as you have mentioned, that whether his, his associates or his party people and administration, they are on board with him. Yes, his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, he is also one of the person who are goes for tariff. And President Trump himself is also in favor of imposing tariffs in order to raise funds for his several projects which he has in mind for the people of the United States of America. And he is of the argument that it is the people of the United States of America that they suffer more losses vis-a-vis the trade with other countries, especially the three major trade partners, that is Mexico, Canada and China. And on Canada and Mexico, he has imposed 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. But at the same time, the United States of America imports oil and energy. But that is not included in the tariff list because some of the adjoining states, American state to Canada, they import electricity and oil from Canada. That's why that has not been included. But that has been put on hold for a time being, that if the Canada and Mexico, if they comply with the drug control and illegal immigration, then they are going to revisit and review his policy on tariff about these two countries. At this point of time now, fentanyl is a kind of substance, a chemical that has caused more deaths in the United States of America, and it is basically as a chemical for analgesic use manufacturing. It caused more deaths than the deaths in the Vietnam War of the United States of America. So that's why he is of the view. And vis-a-vis the China, as China has now, he has imposed 10%, but this is over and above the existing tariff rates which he has already. So these are he is gaining, at this point of time, there is no opposition to President Trump's these policies, because this was what he said, that he had made this promise during the election campaign, and he is going to impose these tariffs.
As now, seeing the American system, particularly the president or the whatever party which comes into power, they are there for 4 years. I hope they have worked out in a way that, these tariffs will bring results within these 4 years, or like certain things which were done by Trump in this first term were undone by Mr. Biden. And as Amjad was saying that, the top countries which come into, limelight as US is putting tariffs on is Mexico, Canada and China only, and EU maybe in the later stage. Do you think this will continue in the next, the government, whichever comes into the government, after 4 years, or will, if at all they find some results or some tangible, outcome out of all these tariffs?
We have to see, retrospectively, when Mr. Trump, as Amjad said in his first tenure, when he slapped tariffs and levied, import duties on China and other countries, it was being thought that once the government would change and Mr. Biden came to the helm of affairs, he was probably going to stop, or if not, is going to slow down the tariff war with China particularly. It didn't happen actually. He not only maintained the tariffs that were levied during Mr. Trump's first tenure, he also increased the tariffs, during his own tenure So we cannot really presage at this time whether the future administration in United States would continue with the policies that are being pursued by Mr. Trump, because there is a divided opinion among the economists in United States itself, which say that when import duties were levied by the previous administration and Mr. Trump in his first tenure, it helped establish domestic industry in United States. But the way it was being anticipated by Mr. Trump and Mr. Biden himself, that the way they were expecting the employment to be generated, it didn't happen. One of the factors that probably was hindering the employment generation in the United States was the growing induction of technology. Because as the technology was moving very fast, it was developing very fast, it was doing away with labor-intensive industry itself. And also, we have to see that when China was slapped previously with a lot of duties by United States, it relocated its production facilities in Malaysia and Indonesia and Vietnam as well. This time round also, when Mr. Trump, it was being seen by the manufacturers in China and the businessmen that Trump was going to come to the helm of affairs. They had started already relocating their manufacturing facilities so as to enjoy the tariff reduction that was being given by United States to other countries, particularly Vietnam and Malaysia, Indonesia, as I mentioned. So it did not really work out the way it was being anticipated, and we have to see how this tariff war actually unfolds, how it is going to affect the global consumers all over the world, because it's a globalized world. Anything that happens, for instance, when a car is manufactured in Canada, then there are lots of parts, which keep moving to and fro from United States to Canada. So it's a very complicated scenario. We are not economists. We cannot really go into the details. But as students of international economics, we understand these things to some extent, and I think that it is going to have a very negative effect for the global consumers all over the world. The prices are going to go up, and it may cause some unrest, in the growing economies particularly, which might be slowed down, which will engender further poverty in those countries.
I may also add things that we have to also look at the cost of production, which in the United States of America is definitely higher than the cost of production in other. Okay. So competitiveness in that sense may also be not working as which Mr. Trump and his associates are thinking about.
Thank you, Ayaz and Amjad. Now, this time I think what we have seen is that as soon as the US president or the Americans, started putting tariffs, the reaction from all these three major countries, for Mexico, Canada and US, China, was very swift, as if they were already prepared because they had heard that, he's going to do all that. That was one factor which has to be seen. And as mentioned by you, Ayaz, that especially in the production of automobiles, the parts which are, used, they trickle or travel between different countries, and coming and going and to and fro, it adds up to the cost, because the duty factor doesn't say which part can go and which cannot go, and all those things are there. Now, this is what is that has to be seen, that Mr. Trump is doing all this in a very impulsive manner, that he thinks that by doing this he wants to bring the American economy to a certain level, so that jobs are created or industry takes over and all those. He will be able to achieve or not, that has to be seen. How do you see this, Amjad?
Well, the President Trump has always claimed, and he also pronounces it very loudly, America first. So he has to see the interest of America first. And secondly, he always said that show me the money first. He will always try to gain and get as much funds and money from abroad for his people. He has recently asked the Saudi Prime Minister and Crown Prince for $600 billion investment in the United States of America. And he then also also asked him, no, increase it to $1 trillion. All this money going back to United States of America. Definitely, United States of America has been facing this trade deficit for quite a long time, which has reached, as Ambassador Ayaz mentioned, that $1.2 trillion was a trade deficit. And it is a huge amount vis-a-vis his major trading partner like China, Canada, and Mexico, and also the European Union. So his policy is to bring in as much funds into America to raise and rebuild the manufacturing sector. But that has to be seen whether there is a will and there is also a policy, what kind of manufacturing sector he is going to build. Automobiles, electronics, IT, chemicals, what other, because it also needs labor. And do they have the labor, skilled labor for those things? So all these things have to be taken into account. And definitely 4 years is not a long time. Setting up this kind of policies takes long time, decades, to at least to bring fruit and to create that kind of desired results.
One more thing, Tanveer.
Yes.
We were talking about the increase in prices, and difficulties to be faced by the Americans because of the tariffs that are being levied, on imported goods. I was reading a report according to which it was being estimated that Americans would have to pay probably 12% more on the price of cars, and a simple household would have to pay $1,700 in 1 year. For
$2,400.
They say $1,700 as well. So this is whether the Americans are ready to pay this price. This has to be seen. But countries like Pakistan, we have an advantage actually when China goods from China are being subjected to import duties by United States. It is certainly going to increase the prices of Chinese goods, and Pakistan has an opportunity here where we can capitalize on this situation, because Pakistan is not a bigger importer, and we do not have any trade surplus vis-a-vis United States. So we are not in that danger zone as other countries are. So there is an opportunity for Pakistani manufacturers to induct more technology, which will produce
value addition,
which will produce goods of international quality, and they will be sold in United States. I think we have an opportunity here, instead of getting bogged down by what is happening to other countries. We have an opportunity here to actually seize upon.
Thank you. I know, since we have discussed quite a lot about what's going on, there is already an existing system of trade and tariff and all those under the organization WTO. Whenever some country has a problem, they go to them or complain against another country, all those. Do you think that with these major US economy, doing all these things, and which has impact on those countries where he's going to put tariff, and also affecting other countries. Will that be shifting or doing topsy-turvy the system which is existing, or we are looking into some other new system coming up?
Well, I think the kind of policies which by raising tariffs on the imports from into the United States of America definitely is going to shatter the trading system in the whole world. China, Canada, Mexico, European Union, UK, many other, India even for that sector. So definitely there is going to be some, resonance and also some ripples across the globe vis-a-vis the trade practices being followed by currently by all members of under the WTO system. But let's see what happens next.
It's too early right now.
Yes, yes, it's too early to see, but definitely it's going to cause ripples.
Mr. Trump is hell bent in destroying international institutions. Yes,
he's got an out of box.
Yeah, whether you talk about United Nations or you talk about WTO.
Yeah, we have seen that.
WTO. Or in general, the rule-based global order, as we, what we say, he is destroying this whole thing. He is dictating his own terms. This reminds me, just yesterday when he was talking about Gaza, a reporter asked him that under what law are you going to occupy Gaza, and he said under the American law. It is the United States which is, so it's might is right kind of a thing right now.
General
and law. And things are going to go are going to turn topsy-turvy, certainly.
It is definitely causing a lot of offense and annoyance amongst all members of the UN. And definitely the United States of America under the Trump administration is going to gain more resentment from the member states.
Countries.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching our program, and please do subscribe to our channel and also give your views and comments. Thank you.